Yo, what's up everybody, it's your boy Elvius Void coming back with another video on the channel. Before we actually get into the video, I just like to say thank you to all those people that hit that like button and the subscribe button, as we had just recently hit 1k subscribers. Hitting 1k is, a steeple that I thought that I would never really be able to get over, making a YouTube channel and doing what ifs. But so it was a massive thing for me to accomplish, and I've got all you guys to thank for that. So yeah, before we actually get into this what if, I'll just go over the stuff that happened in the last part of this what if, that being what if Izuku was Akaza's reincarnation. So in the last part of this what if, we went over Izuku and his coming into UA, completing the entrance exam, getting first place overall, beating the high scores of All Might, as well as absolutely dominating in the hero points as well as the villain points, getting over 50 points above everybody else in hero points, as well as, I think it was hero points, as that was the rescue points, and the villain points he got, still absolutely dominating everybody else in the competition. We also went over Izuku on his first day back at, well, not really back, but in UA, and his meeting with his teacher, Aizawa, and the quirk assessment exam, with Izuku getting first place in the exam, and basically becoming friends with everybody in the class, but having a new type of friend group, which is exactly like the original. That would be Ochako, and Ida, as well as Kirishima, being also very friendly to Izuku, as Izuku has a much better physique than in the original case in My Hero, being absolutely shredded in every department. So yeah, that's where we kind of left off in the last episode, so let's just get right into it. We start this what if with Izuku going back to school the next day, with Class 1A going through their normal class activities, that being, English and whatnot like that. They would reach the end of the day, which would be the hero basic training class, with Izuku as well as all the class getting very excited for this exact class, as that's what the school is for, hero training. All Might would burst through the doors, yelling coming in through the door like a normal person, with the class all excited, yelling All Might's name and mentioning that he is in his heroic age costume, his original one, his Silver Age costume to be exact, with the whole class with staring at All Might in awe. Izuku wouldn't have the same type of expression than he did in the original, as Izuku, who had been having a much more intimate type of relationship with All Might, that being a kind of father-son type of relationship. He would be happy to see All Might, as well as already knowing that All Might would be a teacher in UA, as he did have the discussion with All Might on the beach at Dagobah Beach, after, cleaning up all the stuff there, with All Might telling the class to get changed into their hero costumes. They will all get into their hero costumes like the original. Izuku's would be different in this case, with Izuku's actual costume, he would have a much different costume in the original. Instead of his mother, who had made his costume like the original, Izuku would have put in some blueprints for what he wanted his costume to be. Izuku would have his normal appearance, looking exactly like Akaza, but for his clothing, he only wore a sleeveless, dark purple, a purple-pink haori, I think is how you say it, that was cut off at his waist, which left open to expose his chest. That was also decorated with a square pattern on his back. Below this, he sported a pair of baggy white pants that rolled just below his knees, with a dark blue rope belt to secure them to his waist. Izuku wouldn't have any shoes, but would prefer to be barefoot in his costume, as well as wearing a chain of large round pink pearls around each of his ankles. With his costume being identical and his looks being identical to Akaza in the Demon Slayer franchise, you can look at the picture which is literally on the screen. That would basically be his hero costume, with all the other students going outside and seeing Izuku, who had walked out, he was out there first because it's a really simple costume. They will all see his unique but pretty plain and simple costume, and would note that Izuku is just like Kirishima, with his chest being out and open, having a similar costume to Kirishima. With Izuku agreeing with this, he would go stand next to Kirishima and put his arm around his shoulder, saying that great minds think alike. And they would all, go off to see All Might. With the class changed into their costumes, they were all gathered to Ground B, the very same training area where they participated in the entrance exams and where it was all held. With All Might going through all the rules, the class would be broken into teams of 12, half of them heroes and half of them villains, with the villains being tasked with guarding the nuclear weapon that they intended to deploy, and the heroes who must stop their schemes. After explaining all the rules, Izuku would go stand by his better friends, that being Ochako as well as Ida, and ask if they're excited to go in the teams. With Ida shushing Izuku, saying that All Might is about to draw the lots and announce the teams. With All Might picking out the random, generator, which will just set the names in a little box, he would pick out the same teams in the original, that being Team A being Izuku and Ochako, and all the other teams and so on and so forth. With All Might now announcing who the teams will be facing, he would say the first teams that will be facing, which is Team A, Izuku and Ochako, will be facing Team D, Katsuki and Tenya Ida. With Team D, basically Katsuki, all hitting inside the building first, they would go to find the fake missile inside and would start to move it all around, deciding to move it at the top of the building, which would be the most obvious place, but is still the best place to put it. Still confused, however, or that being Katsuki still confused on Izuku's sudden rapid growth on Izuku's strength and overall abilities, he would try to make out a plan in order to stop Izuku, as he knows that his regeneration is very strong, but doesn't know the full capabilities of it. With Tenya, who is also talking to Katsuki about this, would ask how he knew that Izuku has more than one quirk, with Katsuki telling Tenya about all the different type of quirks that Izuku seems to have, that being the strength, the unlimited stamina, as well as his immense regeneration, all those type of prowess that he has. With Tenya now finding out the full type of capabilities that Izuku has, hearing from Bakugo, he will be absolutely astonished in how strong Izuku is. But still, he would still underestimate Izuku in his full strength, as Izuku hasn't even shown his full strength to Katsuki during his entire childhood with him, either or as well as in the entrance exam, as he was only using 5% of One For All during that time, and sometimes even without it, that being to destroy the regular robots, only having to use One For All when fighting off with the giant zero-pointer robot. With the 5 minutes passing, Team A would enter the building, but before they could get too far, Katsuki, who had decided to branch off from Ida, telling him that he doesn't care about the actual exam, instead wanting to just fight off with Izuku and see who's stronger, he would go off immediately as the timer starts and would confront Izuku. Izuku would guard Ochako immediately, getting in front of her, putting his hand in the way of Katsuki and her from getting into a confrontation, and would tell Ochako to go around the other side of the building and go find where the bomb is, and kind of tell him through the devices that they have where the actual bomb is, and he'll take care of Katsuki during this in the attack. With Katsuki deciding that he wants to get over this quickly, he would launch at Izuku and prepare to attack, having sparks of his basically explosions going around his hands. With Ochako listening straight away, she would run, sprinting off in the opposite direction, and Izuku would get ready to attack and defend against Katsuki. With Katsuki immediately shooting off a massive explosion against Izuku's face, he would immediately dodge the attack and grab Katsuki's arm, swinging him onto the ground, destroying the ground below him, with Katsuki falling down to the bottom layer. With Katsuki being immediately hurt by this, he would start to breathe for air, but couldn't, as the wind was knocked out of him from him being thrown through a literal floor. With Izuku jumping down, he would start to berate Katsuki for being so weak and trying to fight him on a one-on-one without thinking about the actual exam itself, and then he should have just stayed with Ida. With Katsuki, who was annoyed that Izuku was stronger than him, he would immediately get up onto his feet, trying to breathe in as much oxygen as he can. With Katsuki getting ready to fight again, he would start to throw off as many type of explosions as he can at Izuku. With Izuku not having the same type of mentality as Katsuki, going at a 100%, he would instead be trying to wear out Katsuki, as he doesn't want to immediately, or by accidentally kill Katsuki in an attempt to, just disarm him or knock him out. With Katsuki immediately throwing as many type of explosions that he can, Izuku will be dodging them all, deciding to either parry his blasts, knocking them to the side, or just to dodge them overall, speed blitzing behind Katsuki whenever he could, as Izuku is just waiting for the call that Ochako has found the bomb. With Katsuki, who has been sweating this entire time, trying to build up as much sweat in his gauntlets for his final attack, he would immediately yell to Izuku, saying that it is over now, that he definitely will be able to knock out Izuku with his final attack. With Izuku, kind of giving him the side eye to this entire confrontation and the battle between them two, he would ask how he's going to do that then. With Katsuki immediately lifting up one of his gauntlets, getting ready to pull the pin, All Might would, wouldn't, like in the original, tell Katsuki to stop, but instead, tell Izuku not to go too hard on Katsuki, as he knows his type of capabilities from the entrance exam through the, speakers in the testing area. Katsuki, hearing this, would immediately have red flashed all over his face, as he's embarrassed that his idol, someone that he wants to overcome, is telling his opposition, Izuku, to go easy on him. He would be absolutely outraged and get ready to pull the pin right in Izuku's face. With Izuku, who was kind of caught off guard by this, as he's not using his demon blood art, but instead, he's just basically there, standing there. He would see Katsuki immediately pull the pin and his gauntlets right on Izuku's face, and immediately a massive explosion would go off, destroying a lot of the building, which would end up destroying the above floors of the building, which would knock off, or knock around Ida on the top of the building, as well as Ochako, who was trying to climb through the window. As soon as that happens, the speakers would freak out all the other students in the area where they're all looking. I don't even know what it's called. The observation room, sorry. They're all freaking out that one of their classmates had just killed the other, seemingly someone who was extremely strong, and they didn't know what was happening. Immediately, out of the smoke, they could hear a loud laughter coming from it. With the smoke dissipating and the cameras zooming in on Izuku, they could see that Izuku's entire head, as well as a part of his torso, is gone, and the laughing is just from the bit of his mouth that is starting to reform and grow back, laughing out to the entire room. With the entire class being absolutely, terrified as their classmate, who is missing their entire head except for their mouth, as well as a lot of the torso and arm, is laughing. They would immediately see that all the flesh, Izuku's head, arm, torso, would grow back immediately, basically popping back into existence. With Katsuki seeing this, he would be freaked out, as Izuku's entire regeneration had been put to another level, something that he hadn't seen ever before from Izuku. With Izuku immediately, regenerating, he would turn to Katsuki and say that he's gonna get real. He's gonna get, to fight him for real, as that blast right there was really, it was kind of painful, but not really, as he's used to all the pain. With Izuku now deciding that he wants to, go full out, he would immediately use a destructive death on Katsuki, forming the ice, the icicle, whatever it's called, the snowflake below the ground. It would immediately show in I think it's like a bright blue, and Izuku would use a destructive death. Launching his fist to the air, a massive wind burst would immediately rupture the ears of Katsuki and blast him through the wall and through the building entirely into the next one, knocking him out, breaking and severely injuring Katsuki, having Katsuki had broken both of his arms, a few of his ribs, and having internal injuries as the shock of the blast of just one punch from Izuku, not even using one for all, had immediately incapacitated him, with All Might having to call off the match and immediately rush in to grab Katsuki and take him to Recovery Girl, as this was a serious injury. Izuku would be a little annoyed that Katsuki had been, dealt with immediately, and he wasn't even able to withstand one of his destructive deaths. With Izuku now, having the entire one-on-one finished, as well as the entire test, he would be a little peeved off at this entire situation, as he didn't expect Katsuki to lose immediately. With all the other participants, that being Ida and Ochako, going back to the observation room, they would all the class would be, in absolute horror at Izuku's full strength, and immediately would be a little sit on edge when seeing him again. With Izuku saying that he didn't actually mean to hit Katsuki that hard and thought that Katsuki was strong enough to withstand at least one of his attacks, he would, laugh it off with a lot of the other class, who had still built a type of relationship with him, that being in the first day, and seeing that he didn't actually mean to really hurt Katsuki that much, they would kind of, slightly chuckle with him in a way, kind of in the it's kind of hard to explain. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. With a lot of the class asking if Izuku has multiple quirks, seeing that he has an immense regeneration, they would ask how he's even able to do that, and if Izuku can even die. Izuku would explain that his quirk is very unique in a way, and that he's technically immortal, so to speak, that his cells are in a state of, a constant, stabilized manner, and that his cells don't age, but instead always multiply if needed, having unlimited stamina, which fuels his immense regeneration. With them finding out that their classmate is someone on a completely different level, someone that's immortal, has incredible regeneration as well as incredible strength, they all realize that they're all second fiddle to him, realizing that this kid, someone that their own age, is on a different level, maybe even the number one hero, All Might's level, but they don't know that he's absolutely surpassed All Might in every single way. Izuku is basically the strongest person on the world right now, even surpassing One for All. I mean, sorry, not One for All for One, but they don't know about any of that yet. With Katsuki going to the Recovery Girl and getting healed, he would still be, extremely exhausted from the fight, as well as being extremely exhausted from the healing, as it takes your stamina for healing your injuries. With All Might coming back to the class, he would say that they're all going to do they're all going to carry on doing it, but they need to watch out for their quirks, as it's very dangerous, and All Might would kind of give the black hole hero, I don't know her name, we'll get to that later, because I think I read it down somewhere. With all the other class activities going the exact same, and all the other 1v1s going the exact same, there's not much different to the end of the day. With the class ending and the day being completely finished, Izuku would start to walk off out of the school gates and would see Katsuki on crutches walking to his, not his car, but his mother's car, who had come to pick him up. With Mitsuki seeing Izuku, she would, wave and smile to him, asking how he's been, with Izuku saying that he's been fine, and he's just going home now. Mitsuki would offer to take Izuku home, as they are very close, they all live close to each other, and Izuku would agree, going to the back seat of the car with Katsuki. and she had, just some groceries or stuff in the front seat. So they're kind of just sitting next to each other. With Katsuki, who is, still seething in rage that Izuku beat him with one punch, and that he was basically not even taking him seriously. He'd be looking out the window the entire ride. It wouldn't speak at all. With a conversation going on between Mitsuki as well as Izuku, it would be fine, and the end of the day would finish. There's not much left. We will now skip to the next day. With the news airing that All Might has joined UA High's facilities, the press would immediately bombard the gates of UA and try to interview as many students as they can, as they're all looking for a scoop on the #1 hero. Eraserhead then comes in and tries to send the reporters away, but they try to follow him inside, activating the UA defense barrier, which would start to set them all off, sending them backwards. With Izuku coming through the crowds around them, they would all try to get a better look on Izuku and see that he has a type of mutant quirk, seeing by his unique eyes, as well as his tattoos all over his skin, and immediately try to ask him questions, what his quirk is, and what's it like having All Might as a teacher. Izuku would tell them that it's fine, and that doesn't really, concern them, so to speak, as they're not the ones trained to be heroes. Immediately, a reporter would try to get into Izuku's face and try to put a camera as well as a microphone in his face, trying to get a reaction out of Izuku. But Izuku wouldn't take any of this, and immediately, flashing faster than anybody's eye could see, immediately onto the other side of the gate, and would look at them, smiling and waving, telling them to have a good day. With the reporters all being, wondering what Izuku's quirk is, thinking that it might be a teleportation quirk, but little they know that that's just Izuku's base strength and speed. During UA's, Class 1A's homeroom class, Aizawa would announce that the class needs to elect a representative for the class, and the representative needs to be, chosen, like, right now. The Aizawa would also explain that the representative title is a chance for the students to gain extra recognition, and that for the different, I forgot what it's called, just recognition. So nearly every student in the class would try to elect themselves with, Kirishima, I've honestly forgotten all the other classmates, trying to raise their hand, telling them to vote for him. With Tenya speaking out, telling the class that the class needs to be put on a vote to see who the class president should be. With all the class agreeing with Tenya, they would all get a piece of paper and start to write down who they would like to be for their class president. With Izuku, who wrote down himself, as he sees himself as a leader, and doesn't think anyone could kind of outshine him in that department, from his strength as well as his confidence in himself. It's much greater, as his childhood was kind of different to his original counterpart, with Izuku being voted as the class representative, and Momo being chosen as the deputy representative. Later on, after the class, Izuku, Ochako, Tenya, as well as some other students that being honestly searched up. So I've honestly forgot it. It's kind of embarrassing. Oh yeah, I got a list here. Suyu, as well as Kirishima, Denki, Ojiro, and Jiro would also start to sit next to Izuku, as well as some of the other class going around, because I guess it would be most of the class, except for the loners, that being Todoroki and Katsuki and stuff like that. But most of the class would kind of surround Izuku, as he's kind of the very popular kid in school. That being with his looks, as well as his charismatic attitude towards everything. With them all eating their food by lunch, the I forgot what it's called anyway. It doesn't matter. Tenya then admits to himself that he voted for Izuku because his intuition during the entrance exam, as well as his strength in general, is much exceeding that anyone else in the class, and then he definitely, noticed Izuku out of everyone in the class to be the representative. With noticing Tenya's formal attitude, Ochako would then ask about Tenya's family and their wealth, with Tenya hesitantly admitting that he's part of the Ida hero family, uh, you know, but decided to not tell anyone as he had fears that it would change how others viewed him. But the class would just tell him that they don't really care, as it is cool to have a hero brother, but it doesn't really mean anything with their strength. With their conversation later being disrupted when the school alarm abruptly goes off. A few third-year students point out that this means someone has infiltrated UA by passing the defense barrier. All the students would try to evacuate immediately, making a mess in the hall all at once, and they would all try to get out of the exit doors, but would oh my god, bro, I can't even speak. With them all creating a major traffic jam in the outside hallway. Despite being caught in the panic, Izuku would immediately jump up and launch himself on top of the door by the exit sign and would immediately scream out to everybody in the general area, with his voice being extra loud and echoey so that everyone can hear them. He would immediately tell them to all calm down, as they are UA students, training to be the next future generation of heroes, and that they need to calm down and be more heroic. Izuku, who has a really good sensory ability, would immediately know that this isn't really a villain attack, but instead the reporters. He would immediately point out through the window, telling the students that the reporters had just gotten into the facility and no one had snuck into the building, and that's just the reporters and the media. With everyone finding this out, they would all start to calm down and exit the building with no more really yelling, and everyone would just be leaving the area. With all the students returning to the class, they would all see that Izuku was definitely right for the job as the class president, and they would all see that Izuku was very good in the situation. But meanwhile, in the other parts of the UA facility, the UA staff would all gather to discuss the most that most of the they had all seen that the UA barrier had been disintegrated, indicating that someone had indeed infiltrated UA. This will be some manga spoilers, so if you don't want to know this manga spoiler, just skip 15 seconds ahead of where I'm going to tell right now. But actually I won't actually say that because no, it hasn't really come to the anime yet, so I won't redo it. The principal and stuff, they would all decline the possibility of someone who infiltrated the academy, but we all know that's not true. Alright, so back to Class 1A. Aizawa would announce that the class will participate in the rescue exercise for the basic hero training, and he would instruct them all to put on their class. He would instruct the class to go and put on their hero costumes and board the bus to head off to the off-site location for the exercise. With everyone getting on the board and Izuku, trying to get everyone on the bus and organize them so they're all there, they would all get on, perfectly fine. While riding the bus, the students discuss each other's quirks, with Tsuyu, Asui, noting that Izuku's quirk is kind of similar to All Might, but his quirk seems to be a mutation type, as well as having the, regeneration and stamina, and technically being immortal, so to speak. I would all vote that Izuku definitely has the strongest quirk out of all of them, as well as being somewhat kind of flashy, as the strength that Izuku has is very flashy, similarly to All Might's. With Kirishima as well protesting, not protesting, he would instead say that he wishes that his quirk is more flashier, as he wants to gain more fame for being a hero. Izuku would tell Kirishima that his quirk is powerful enough to make him into a great hero in the future, as well as his personality would make a fine hero when they all graduate UA. Who was it? with Kirishima still arguing that Katsuki and Shoto's quirks are also very perfect for becoming professionals, as they are very flashy, that being Shota having the ice, all that they've seen is just the ice, and Katsuki's having the explosions. With all of UA, all of Class 1A, now finishing getting off the bus, they would all start to walk off and enter the USJ. That's where I'm going to leave it off, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed this what if. If you did, please hit that like button. I'm going to set a like goal on these videos now, as a lot of these videos aren't getting enough love for me to continue them. So if you want this series to continue, please hit the like button, and if we can reach 30 likes, I'll continue the series. So yeah, if you guys did like this and you want this series to continue, hit that like button, and I'll see you guys later.